What's going on TikTok? It's your boy AMK Ra Amun here, and I think this topic now we're going to talk about shadows, right, and the importances of them because a lot of people do not understand the depths of it. Let's tap into it. So, growing up in life, a lot of people do not know why they're here or what's their purpose of being here, right? And they always say they feel like it's more to their life, right? They just can't figure it out. Well, there is, and I'm going to give you the answers. Hopefully, this can give you a great observation of what it looks like to know the depths of your shadow self. So every spiritual format, when you do something, they say you have to face your shadows, right? Everything comes to facing your shadows, which is facing your fears, right? Or they say you got to make friends with your demon side. If you're a C, they call it a demon, right? But really, it's the one that's doing all the stuff in the background spiritually, right? It's sort of like praying, right? When you pray, you're expecting something to go somewhere and to be received or heard, right? But it's not you physically going towards the prayer. You're saying it, and then you sleep on it, and something is doing whatever works in the background. I'll give you another example. My Netaru, she came up with a great interpretation of the shadow. You guys remember in Princess and the Frog, there was the guy named Dr. Facilier. He was a voodoo person, and he would talk to his shadow, right? Or he'll send his shadow to do stuff, right? Now, the shadow only worked off the way that his expressions of his mood works, but it was powerful, and it had no limits to what it could do in its movements. So think about that. So to those who are trying to do shadow work, how can you do something that you can't connect with, but is connected to you? Don't you think that's a little backwards? To face your shadow, you have to make a connection with your shadow. So remember, you are observing this in the physical, it's observing that in the spiritual. That's why you have dreams. Like, I know a lot of you guys have probably you've seen somebody who you were super attracted to, right? And then when you put the emotion behind it and you went to sleep, you started visually having dreams of their anatomy or their code, right? Or their structure, right? These are the process of your shadow self realizing what you're seeing and what you want, right? And putting it in a form where you can see it visually, right? So connecting or making friends with your demon, right? So they say it either way is dark, just like a yin yang, right? A yin yang not just balance, but it also has a dark with a little light in it, and it has a light with a little dark in it. So clearly, you have to understand the point of there's you here doing some type of work simultaneously as that's there doing some type of work for you. So it's just like physical and spiritual balance, right? Because to know the want is for the shadow to know the need. You feel what I'm saying? So you don't know what you need to do if you don't know what you want. That's why they say when you ask for things in the universe, you got to be very specific what you're asking for, because your shadow is going to try to put together in its best capable ways what you're trying to get. Another topic that my Netaru popped up, right? The movie Us, right? Now that was a very good explanation of the shadow self, right? So when she was a little girl, she looked in the mirror in that circus room with all the mirrors, right? She looked in the mirror and then she saw her reflection, right? And they swapped. So she had the good life in the physical, but her spirit her shadow self had the worst life. It was fucked up, right? So the shadow self was like, I'm trying to live like you. So y'all thought the whole time in the movie until the ending, you realized the one who you thought was good was actually the shadow who replaced the one who was actually really good, and she started living through the spirit life. You feel what I'm saying? They weren't connected, they were separated the whole time. So that's something just to think about, the shadow, okay? You guys can thank my Netaru for that. She's on it, okay? Now, if you look this up, this is for the C's, and we're not talking crypt, right? But for the C's, their God doesn't have a shadow, which is a problem because there's no connection or there's no source behind it. If you look up in Kemet, all the Khemetic ancestors, they all have shadows. It's called a shuyet or shoot, right? SHWT for shoot, right? And SHUYET for shuyet, okay? And that means the shadow self of our ancestors. and it was swift. It was the most powerful, and it also had to deal with death, fertility in the Nile. Okay, so just think about that. Which Kemet means what? Black lands or black soil. Okay. Okay. Another example. I know a lot of you guys. This is just to give you another observation for people who are in different lanes of thinking. Okay. So say you going to college, right? Or you're trying to get a job. How many of you guys prepped so hard for something like a test, right? Or to get approval from something that you worked on it so hard that when you started to sleep, you started to have dreams about if you were going to pass or not, or if you did or not, right? How many of you guys had a fear of being embarrassed, right? And then you literally go to sleep and you have a dream that you're just naked in a crowd full of people, right? And they're just laughing at you. This is the point for what I'm telling you. Your shadow reveals everything that you need to see. It reveals the darkness, and it comes to light when you recognize it. That's literally how it works. It's a yin yang. Like you have to connect with your shadow. You have to. That's why everybody, if you're starting spiritual work, they tell you what? Key word. You have to do the shadow work. Because if the shadow's just doing everything, right? Then you clearly misusing your shadow. You're disconnected. Yeah, as my Netaru said, you're disconnected. You feel what I'm saying? You're not complete. And Khemetic, that's what it's called. That's when the body was completed with the Ka and the Ba. Just like she said, it's balance in Mayat too. You know what I mean? It's everything. Everything has to be connected. Just like I tell you how chaos was here, but out of chaos came order. Darkness was here, but out of darkness came the light. You feel what I'm saying? Unconscious was here, just roaming around unconsciously, but then it came conscious of self. That's another story that I can get into to show you guys how things do come into self-existence, right? What's more sad, you guys don't believe you're a living God in the light, but then your shadow self shows you things that are happening to you, and you guys thank God outside of yourself. But it's the inside of yourself that is revealing things. And you guys don't think that's a power, and you give it up to something that you can't see that's outside of you. So you're asking for something on the inside. The inside is revealing it to you, and you're calling it something outside of yourself. Does that make sense? And this is the reason why you don't know who you are. This is the reason why you're always reaching when it comes to deceased. Not talking Crip, right? Or Muslims or Jews, which is a group of people that takes every good part of every culture or religion and mix it into their own thing. They're not called mythology or myths, right? Because they clearly run the world. And myth, never forget this. Mythology just means it's not that it's fake. It means it's never been seen by man. And notice they say by man. I bet you the shit's been seen by a woman. Because they literally are the universe. You can literally go through the universe through a woman's portal. And you guys know what I'm talking about. That's a whole nother topic, though. Proof that your shadow self actually knows more of what's going on. Because, you got to really explain these things deeply, right? So, what happens when you have a dream, right? And when it starts to feel too real in the dream, what happens? You wake up, your shadow self like, oh, hell no, nigga. You ain't finna see this. I got this. Kick you out, right? Because you might affect what it's doing. You feel what I'm saying? And then you just wake up. I had this weird dream, like this and this was going on, and then I had just woke up. Yeah, of course you had woke up, because before it felt too real, that you know what I mean? Your shadow self's like, nah, I got this. I've been carrying this weight. You feel what I'm saying? How do you feel something's happening? How do you see something ahead of time? Because the shadow is always working. You feel what I'm saying? Now, if you guys come together, it's over. It's over. You're basically God in the living flesh with the power. Just like you could be psychic. Like, I've seen this before. Why have I seen this before? See, if you work hand in hand with your shadow, that's why you only need yourself. If you work hand in hand with your shadow can reveal something, right? Way ahead of time. And then it happens. Now it happening in the real life, the 3D, and you're like, I remembered it. And then you dodged it. See how that works? Just something to think about. Peace, Ashe.